Townhomes in Ottawa are the undisputed hottest section of the market right now, at least when we look at inventory levels and levels of competition. But that doesn't mean the prices are going nowhere but up. In fact, regardless of whether or not you're looking at a N-unit townhouse in Canada or a Nepean townhouse with a condo fee, prices are actually going down, but the degree to which they've gone down and where they're likely to go from here depends a lot on the location and, more importantly, whether or not there's a condo fee attached to that property. The number of condo townhouse sales fell a whopping 26%, where the number of freehold townhouse sales only fell by about 12.5%. Now, neither of those numbers are fantastic, but one is obviously doing much worse than the other. This month, I've actually crunched the numbers a little bit differently than I normally do for the townhouses in order to tease out the data for freehold townhomes versus condos, because this is a part of the story that I think the stats we get don't always do a great job of telling, because these really are two completely different markets. Let's take a look at the data itself. Now we'll start the same place we always do with the year-over-year sales volume. So this is looking at every May for the last 10 years. And you can see here, I've got the top chart here for freehold townhomes, and the bottom one here is for condo townhomes. And as you can see, we're down about 26.6% year over year for the condo townhomes, below the 10-year average. It's slightly less dire for the freeholds. We're about 323 sales, and that's down about 12.5% from last year. And month over month, we actually saw a decent increase in the number of freehold townhomes that were sold. So for condominium townhomes, we only saw barely a 1% increase month over month, which from April to May is actually a little unusual. Like, we would expect May to be busier most of the time. So that could indicate that that section of the market is slowing down pretty quickly. But we did see that usual jump month over month from April to May. That definitely showed up in the freehold townhome numbers. And this is the same stat here, just showing the sales volume for each, just compared to the last few years. So for freeholds, we can see we're above the 2024 number, but definitely lower than that 2025 number. And we've got sort of a similar situation playing out with the townhomes, but we're actually, like, we're below the 2025 number, but we're actually below that 2024 number as well for the condo townhomes. So that's something to watch. And that really indicates to me that that particular condo section of the market, the condo townhomes, are slowing down a fair bit compared to the freeholds. And there are various reasons for this. I'm finding the condo fees, both for apartment condos and townhouse condos, are tending to go up a little more quickly than usual the last few years. I've heard lots of stories of people I've worked with who moved into condos, and the fees went up a lot more than they were expecting over the kind of like 5 or 6 years that they'd been there. So I think that news is getting out there, and it's making people a little more shy to get into those condo properties. And I find people in general do prefer the freehold townhouse if they can afford it. The obvious benefit of the condo towns is you don't have to take care of all the maintenance of the exterior, but also that mortgage amount that you need is quite a bit less. The price point's quite a bit lower on the condos. As far as the active listings, there's another really interesting split here. So active listings sitting on the market at the end of the month for the freeholds was up almost 21%, that's no joke either. That's a significant increase. But if you remember from the previous updates we did for the detached and the condos, that's pretty much on course with, or on par with, what the other sections of the market are doing. But for these condo townhomes, we're up 36%. So that's a really significant increase. Not quite twice as much, but meaningfully higher than the freehold towns. So we're seeing more of that inventory sit on the market at the end of the month. And that usually indicates a slower sales volume. And this pretty much confirms that. With the months of inventory, we take that number we just looked at, so the number of listings sitting on the market at the end of the month, and we divide it by the sales volume that we looked at previously. And what we get is, in my opinion, the best indicator, the best leading indicator of where prices are going. It's a measure of absorption, and it tells us how quickly properties are moving relative to how much inventory is sitting there at the end of the month. Now, anything below 4 months is technically considered a seller's market, depending on who you talk to. Some people say it's 3 months, but for freehold towns, we're looking at 2.36 months of inventory. So definitely, no doubt, in the seller's market category for the freehold towns, they are moving pretty quickly if they're presented and priced properly. But the condo towns, we can see we're both trending a little bit differently, like we're higher month to month, and we're also a higher absolute number. We're up from 2.07 last year up to 3.78 months of inventory, approaching that balanced market level for the condo townhomes. So to me, this really illustrates the biggest reason to make sure that we look at these categories separately. Because when we're looking just at the townhouse number as one number, it completely ignores these differences. And the relatively small number of condo townhomes just kind of gets drowned out in the larger number of freehold townhomes that we see sold. And it actually makes the condo townhouse data look better. So by parsing the data out like this, it shows us that this is actually two very different markets behaving in pretty different ways directionally right now. So if you're a condo townhouse, you're going to have a tougher time than if you're selling a freehold. And if we look at the average days on market, we can see they're actually pretty similar here as far as how long it takes to sell one of these places. So we've got 31 days on market for the freehold and 33 days on market for the condo townhomes. But there is a little bit of disparity going on, particularly if we look at the month over month numbers. So year over year, 25 to 31, that's about a 23% increase in the average days on market for freehold towns. For condo towns, we're up around closer to 25%, so pretty similar. But month over month, we saw a 16% decrease for freehold townhomes. So things are getting a fair bit hotter. Things are sitting for significantly less time month over month. Whereas it's less significant for the condo townhomes, only 3.5% decrease month over month. But as far as days on market, both are kind of sitting around a month right now. It just looks like things are getting a little more brisk for the freeholds more quickly than they are for the condo towns. Average sale price. So this is the caveat I gave at the beginning. This is where I think we sacrifice a little bit to look at these markets separately. We have to look at the average price rather than the home price index benchmark price. And the reason for that is the home price index benchmark price only tracks the townhouse market in general. It's got single family homes, it's got apartment style condos, and it's got townhomes all as one category. Now, the good thing about the home price index is that it controls for the outliers in that benchmark price, whereas the average price here is at the mercy of outliers. So if we had a townhouse that was really cheap, like really inexpensive, or one that was really expensive, if we just had like a higher tier of product sell this month for whatever reason, that throws the numbers off. And you can see it's more prone to these big swings, especially in the condo townhouse segment, because we're looking at a smaller sample size. But I do think it's worth it just to be able to separate out these two numbers rather than mushing them all together and just saying this is what townhouses are doing, because I don't think that's super accurate either. So if we look at the average price here, we can see that month over month, things are down very slightly in the freehold market. Year over year, we're down about 3%. And condo townhouses, interestingly enough, are up 1.6% year over year and up 5% month over month. So based on the months of inventory numbers and stuff that we just looked at, my sense is that this might be the outliers acting on the data a little bit. If we saw a couple of really expensive condo townhouses sell this month, then that could be enough to throw the data off and make the trend look kind of weird. That's my sense of what's going on, because the other numbers make it seem like that section of the market is slowing down. So we wouldn't expect to see that kind of price increase. But if we are looking solely at average price, we did actually see a strong price market for the condo towns in May of 2026. So there you have it. That's what townhouses are doing in Ottawa in 2026. Very dependent on which section of the market you're in. Please let me know in the comments whether or not it was helpful to split out the freehold section from the condo section. I do find it's worthwhile for most of the stats, but I hesitate a little bit when I look at those price numbers and how kind of swingy they are based on those smaller sample sizes. But let me know what you think. Thanks so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day and take care.